Hi there. Thanks for your patience. I had a really cool thing where my microphone was like echoing like just forever, and it was bad. So it's fixed now, I think. And welcome to the Andy No Dramatic Reading. I'm joined by the marvelous folks over at the 45th Parallel Absurdist Brigade, and we're gonna read about milkshakes today. Now, we're very lucky to be joined by some of the Antifa BLM terrorists that were present at the milkshaking itself, I believe.
Well, the milkshaking, yes. The hitting, no. The milkshaking, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So many milkshakes. Coconut dream shakes, vegan friendly with rainbow sprinkles.
That sounds lovely. And Andy has a very different description in this book. He does not talk about the coconut flavor at all, actually.
Surprise, surprise.
He should be familiar with it because he kept getting them poured over his face repeatedly for like over an hour. And he just kept coming back for more. So one would assume that he
didn't get them poured. They kept getting accidentally spilled.
Sorry, accidentally spilled. He was trying to squeeze into a dance party. And anyway, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll get there. Andy has a whole thing. So, without further ado, let's read Chapter 8, which is entitled "Violence."
I'm hoping that this is a survey on the human phenomenon of violence as a whole.
I would assume, right? A brief history of violence and how it starts. But we're going to start with his violence, I assume, before a flashback to the beginning. He introduces with a quote, "I just got beat up by the crowd. No police at all. These were my first words." Oh. I have a sign. Oh my God. Yeah, we're off to a great start here. Oh no, you're going to have to hold it down with the citation needed. Oh, here it is. These were my first words as I recorded a live stream video on Twitter on June 29th, 2019, outside the Multnomah County Courthouse. Sitting on the ground because I was losing balance, I saw my bloodied face and swollen eyes on my phone screen. Whew. Beside me was BuzzFeed news reporter Joseph Bernstein. I asked him to call the police because he'd witnessed my beating. So we're off to a great start.
I too take selfies after getting hit.
Also, my beating. He's really owning his art here. Performance. This is his magnum opus.
Yes. And of course, the first thing you'd want to do is enshrine it forever on your phone.
You got it.
Because this is the best moment of your life.
If you create a priceless work of art in the forest and it doesn't make a sound.
Did it really happen? And will you get invited on Tucker Carlson? That's really the.
And will you be able to steal a couple $100,000 from your followers?
Like $250 million is so good.
Unbelievable.
Anyway.
All I'm saying is, like, if I was actually a grifter, I'd be doing it wrong because Andy is the man. He's right wing is where it's at.
I assume that he was being, for whatever weird reason, followed by BuzzFeed.
Wait, say that one more time. You're breaking up for some reason.
The thing that was happening, and BuzzFeed was doing like.
Yeah, BuzzFeed was. Yeah, he does. Sorry. Shoot.
I'm sure he'll talk about this, but yeah, for whatever reason, BuzzFeed was doing a profile on Anderford Ngope, and as a result, they just apparently got lots and lots of footage of him being repeatedly milkshaked, which then we never saw on BuzzFeed, so I don't know what they were doing with themselves.
Yeah, no,
because it was funny. It was a good bit.
It was fantastic. He's going to talk at length. Like the guy that he just mentioned, the reporter Joseph Bernstein. He's got some words for Mr. Bernstein. He is not a fan of the BuzzFeed, which is interesting. We'll look at his article later on probably. Meanwhile, Andy is not done detailing the horrors that befell him on that day. I was dazed and confused. Did this really just happen? I thought to myself. I was also angry. Where are the police? Before the beating, I'd already reported 2 instances of assault by Antifa to law enforcement. While recording the demonstration earlier at Lonesdale Square, a masked male had run up behind me and slammed a cup filled with a viscous white liquid on my head.
So I saw a couple of these. I think there were more than 2. None of them were slams. It was definitely like a sustained like over and over again, and it was really like it kept happening like a gag reel. And he just kept going back, and then he would go to the police, and they would be like, "Yeah, it seems like people don't want you over there, bro." And then he would wipe it off and go back, and somebody else would like turn around
also,
and
like shoving his GoPro camera like way up in a booty dance party.
Yeah,
in a way that like would have gotten you punched off a dance floor.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's not to do that.
Turning himself into a dance party with a GoPro on a stick, and then people were like trying to elbow him away from the dance party. And then as he was like huffily walking off through the crowd, various black-clad individuals kept doing the like, I just turned around and whoops, I spilled my drink, which is a milkshake, all over you. And it happened a bunch of times. None of them were slams that I saw, but they're definitely, I'm pretty sure there were more than 2. So maybe he's only remembering the ones that he experienced as violence.
That could be. It's also possible that the brain damage he experienced from the 3rd and final milkshake
the most
made him forget.
Brain is not the same as brain damage.
You know, that's I feel like Mr. No might disagree.
They were very sticky. It gave me some gas.
Ooh. No, that is unpleasant. Not the same as brain. Yeah, no, I agree. Like that, I'm not a doctor, but to me it seems different. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. We'll get to the composition of the milkshakes you consumed on that day soon. One of the rally's organizers that day was Popular Mobilization, or Pop Mob, a new Antifa group. Pop Mob gave out what they said were vegan milkshakes. I saw their volunteers pouring the drinks into paper cups from industrial buckets.
Yeah, so I can. They were made in a nearby community space that had like volunteered their kitchen, and there was lots of immersion blenders involved and coconut dream ice cream, and they had to be both like the goal was for them to be vegan but also like adhere to lots of other dietary restrictions. And so there's lots and lots of, I mean,
like no nuts, no
just
dairy.
Picture a community kitchen full of queers just churning away with immersion blenders for hours and producing just churning away, producing a sort of gloppy, white, sticky substance. and then you did have to put it in buckets because like
had to get carted over.
It had to get carted over, so they
like
carts. And then so they went in food grade 5-gallon buckets that were clearly marked food grade on the outside also, which is fun. And
I know a bunch of kids that drank a pile of them.
Yeah. And then they got transferred into jugs, and then they got transferred onto little trays, and then there was even like paper rainbow straws that went in them, and the Antifa terrorists had carefully spent a long time hand printing Antifa logos, like 3 arrows. Yeah, 3 arrows logos.
It's funny you should mention that. Because the very next sentence is Andy No saying with great sadness that the paper cup used to hit my head had the Iron Front's 3 arrows logo.
Yeah, I sure did. People had spent a really long time putting them on, hand stamping them. Artisanal Antifa milkshake cups.
That's incredible. Andy should be honored that he was hit with something like handcrafted and just with love, with love.
Salt and Straw charged you like $8 for that shit.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, like he kind of owes y'all some of the money, really. He's got it, and I feel like maybe you should give back. I don't know.
Donate to Pop Mob so they can make more milkshakes.
Yeah, no, that's the circle of life, and then we can have another party, and you can come out again, and have another really good day. We can all be happy. We can have a dance party. Everybody wins. I feel
good.
Like that.
It was a good day.
Yeah. No, it sounds really great. It was not a great day for Andy, according to Andy and no one else. I reported the assault to a nearby Portland police officer who stood watch on the periphery.
Oh, wait,
stringer.
He was asking where the police were, so he found them.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good that he resolved that because he was confused, and then yeah, thank God he figured it out. A stringer and friend for the Federalist news site who witnessed the incident photographed the suspect and pointed him out to the police. The officer let me know that he could take a report, but would not approach or question the masked person, because it was a milkshake mostly.
Is he describing the hitting or the milkshake?
The milkshaking.
Yeah, I don't think this is the assault yet. We're getting there. We're getting.
Okay, so this is because he's using assault to mean a lot of things.
These are the assaulting milkshakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was no salt in the milkshakes. Andy needs to check his sources on that one. No salt.
That's just yeah. Right. Okay, yeah. So it is actually it's confusing whether he's talking about the assault or not because of how he starts, but his prose, luckily. He clarifies it finally about all the way down the page. He says, "This is the first minor assault, which was meant by a warning by Antifa that I needed to leave. I thought about the implications for following their demand. Local television crews had been attacked by Antifa militants before, and now only record footage from a far distance away with security. If I left, it would cede this public space to Antifa and set a precedent that I could be threatened to leave. I stayed."
There were children there, like small children dancing at the dance party. Small children, like early grade school children dancing at the queer dance party.
Like, just gonna put it out there that I wouldn't want
Beta.
children dancing at a dance party. That had Andy No at it. I would ask Andy No to leave because there's children present.
Yeah, he was being creepy at the dance party, and he was probably a number of people told him that he probably shouldn't be there, including the Portland police when he went over and whined to them about having milkshakes spilled on him.
Yeah, maybe don't photograph kids like a goddamn creep, Andy. I don't know. I mean, it's not working out for Matt Gaetz. It's not going to work out for you. Don't do it. If you didn't just photograph them, it's the principle of the thing. Just leave the kids alone.
I started sipping right as you mentioned Matt Gaetz, and move on.
That's violence. That's literal violence. All right. So Andy's bravely decided to stay and prove that he can't be intimidated by writing an entire book about how intimidated he was. And
right.
We continue. A group Black Bloc militants, which is definitely English.
Oh, his editor again.
Yes, the golden retriever has let us all down once again. A group Black Bloc militants began following me and preventing me from working by physically blocking my path. So this is what he's calling working then, is the creepy photograph.
Those were the people who were trying to keep him away from the dance party because he kept being a creep at the dance party. And so there was people who were kind of like running interference and just being like, why don't you go over here?
Or my favorite, were booty dancing him away.
Yeah.
Like just
Yes.
like
grinding, like when there's a creepy guy at the club and you're like, okay, I can either be like, hey, fuck you guy, or you can just like grind him off the dance floor. And for a while that was the preferred strategy.
Yeah. Everything that's been described so far is definitely things I've seen happen in a club. Like
also,
including
there
the drinks being poured
were
on
people
someone.
in Black Bloc there. There also were a lot of people in like very tiny shorts, like very tiny glittery shorts. My shorts weren't glittery. Only my garters were glittery.
It's good. I'm glad we're being precise about this, and that I'm sure Andy No was terrified by the sight of people having fun. I'm sure it was very traumatic for him. I ignored them, the people blocking his path, and walked around as needed. They followed, whispering to one another and appearing to take orders from someone else. Okay. Nearby, police approached a masked individual who came armed with a metal bat. He initially refused to turn it over, but eventually discarded the bat under a car. He was not arrested for carrying a bat.
for baseball.
Yeah, there were some folks who showed up for baseball practice and forgot some of their equipment and brought some of their other equipment.
I mean, these things happen sometimes. And last time I checked, it's not illegal to walk around with a baseball bat. You can't hit someone with it, but you can walk around with it. Seems good. All right, so we've established that the police don't arrest people for carrying baseball equipment. Shoot.
Mhm.
I think y'all are frozen.
No, are we?
Okay, you're back.
Wee. Cool.
I cannot hear you.
We were being very quiet.
Okay. Worried about the potential for violence, I had earlier asked Bill Bradley, the owner of a local martial arts gym, to be my security in a worst-case scenario. The longtime Democratic Socialists of America member. Yeah, I was going to ask you about this guy. I couldn't find anything on him. Who is this guy?
Andy had like the BuzzFeed people, and like there was some other dude. So I assume this is some other dude.
Oh. Well, I'm surprised you don't know him, because apparently he's a huge lefty and part of the DSA and big into Antifa. I don't know. That's just what I learned from Andy.
Oh, wait, the guy from the martial arts gym?
Yeah, apparently.
Why did Andy hire this person as his security if that were the case?
It's a great question. I also would like to know that.
Is Andy really bad at doing research into people and finding out?
No, impossible. I don't believe it. I can't believe you'd impine this fine journalist in this way. He tries to explain. He says the longtime Democratic Socialists of America member had standing with left-wing activists in the city. He disagreed with some of my views, but supported my right to document public events unimpeded. So this is the kind of leftist that thinks that like shoving cameras in people's faces is cool. Apparently those, I don't know.
I don't know. The DSA is a big tent organization. I guess it takes all kinds.
That's true. Fair enough. Oh, you know, this guy was a big ol' Antifa, apparently. And
Cool.
So I'd never sought out security before, but following incidents of Antifa violence against me in the month prior, I needed to take additional steps to protect myself. On May 1st, 2019. Oh yeah.
Are we gonna
talk about the crimes that he was complicit in?
We're not gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about something very similar.
Crimes that he had foreknowledge of and did nothing to prevent?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
those crimes.
I'm pretty sure it's what he's gonna be. Yeah. His version is a little different than the video footage of him doing crimes or participating and knowing about them anyway. He says, also known as May Day, Antifa and left-wing protesters rioted outside of Cider Riot.
No, they drank at Cider Riot. They had it. There was a thing at a park.
If you're the person at the bar drinking and someone else comes and attacks you and you were already at the bar drinking, that's normally not considered rioting or instigating.
That's like castle doctrine.
Yeah. God damn, I was sitting at this bar fucking drinking.
Yeah, and also like there had been a thing, there had specifically been a decision not to have a large like parade, march, whatever. Yeah. And instead there was a big community gathering with a bunch of different groups and speakers and stuff at a nearby park near Lloyd Center. And then when it was over, everybody went, well, not everybody, a bunch of people went to drink at Cider Riot, which was like, yeah, it's a cider and soccer bar, or was
and
a cider and soccer bar. They had very good cider. And yeah, they had lots of Antifa-friendly people. People who don't like Nazis tend to like Cider Riot.
As with any good establishment, honestly.
People that like violence drink Budweiser.
People who like violence drink bad alcohol. It's true.
That is factually accurate. I don't have a citation, but I don't need one. I'm just following the lead of this guy right here. So, yeah. So
they rioted in the bar where they were calmly drinking before he showed up with his friends who had told him that they were going to do crimes.
Yes, cool. and deliberately provoke a riot, as it were.
Right. where they said, "Hey, who's got the weapons?" And then they pulled out a bunch of weapons and showed them to each other and said, "Let's go attack these people at this bar," which they then did.
And then Andy was just standing there, like laughing and not recording, or recording and never shared the footage. It's unclear. Just chilling with his buddies, the fascists. Super cool that he'd bring this up. So the way he puts it is a little different than what you remember and what I recall seeing on camera. While recording the incident on my phone and standing behind a nearby van for cover, A masked woman in black sprinted and maced me directly in the face. I was blinded and retreated from the riot. My skin burned for days from the chemical spray. The assault was caught on camera, and I reported the attack to the police, but no suspect was ever identified.
So he reported that part to the police, but not the part where there was a bunch of known right-wing extremists saying, hey, we're going to go assault this private business with weapons?
Because they were his friends.
Yep.
Okay, just journalistic impartiality, just checking. Okay.
No, it's good to confirm these things. I'd also just like to remind everybody that this is the same person who, in previous chapters, argued that tear gas is fine and doesn't hurt, right. But mace and milkshakes are much worse when they happen to him.
I mean, I think that seems to be the overarching thing of all of it is violence only counts when it happens to him.
Right.
That seems correct. Yeah. Based on 8 god-awful cursed chapters of this god-awful cursed book, I would tend to agree.
You need to care for people who only consider things real when they happen to you.
Yeah, there's like a word for that, right? Like some kind of thing. Yeah. Weird.
Oh well.
Doesn't bear thinking about too much.
Nah, not important. Not important. I'm sure he's fine. He's a great journalist. So after that flashback, we're going to return to the main narrative in which Andy says, I naively thought I was prepared by bringing along one plainclothes security escort. It was a bonus that he was known as a leftist. But Bill Bradley's relationship with many of the people there proved to be a critical vulnerability. They screamed and yelled at him, accusing him of, quote, protecting a fascist and betraying the community. One of the people who shouted at him was an ex-girlfriend. He says, for no reason.
Yeah, what? Okay.
Okay, neat. What?
That doesn't seem like that's building your case, Andy. It seems like, maybe people were mad at this. Like, if your ex-girlfriend is mad at you, that doesn't mean anything. That means you had, like,
Your ex-girlfriend
maybe you're not dating anymore. There were reasons. Like,
yeah, maybe it didn't work out. And yeah. And then if you're wondering, like, maybe there's something after that sentence to justify that being in here, I'm sorry to inform you that there is not. We're just going to move immediately on to the goal to isolate me worked. Bradley got cold feet, pulled back, and withdrew. I didn't see him again after he left Lonesdale Square. Soon, another person walked up to me and threw another cup of liquid at my face. The white substance splashed.
Throwing is really overstating any of what I saw. That particular, it was a lot more like, and profuse apologies. There was lots of profuse apologizing, which made it funnier.
Oh, I love that.
Sticky, oozing white substance.
A sticky, oozing, just dripping down.
Yes.
This poor face.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Traumatizing. Just
I'm gonna go watch.
Not going to be able to be aroused for a week now. Anyway, let's continue.
Yep. Yeah, so we're definitely doing this in porn voice. Yeah, the white substance splashed under my goggles and went into one of my eyes.
In there, Andy.
Also, do his goggles like not have a seal? Like,
yeah, I'm very confused. These are terrible goggles, Andy. What are you doing? Wow, I mean, I've had some bad goggles, but
you gotta wear your swim goggles.
What are you doing, Andy? I reported the assault to the same police officer. His response did not change.
No, that was when he walked over. The cop was like, "I don't know. It seems like people don't want you there, guy. Maybe you should go somewhere else.
Maybe you shouldn't be where people don't want you around and being weird." Yeah,
hint, said the PPV.
Oh shit, that's nice. Well done. The protester. Ooh. God damn, I'm going to write Chuck Tingle and ask. Oh my God. I feel like he would do it. Do you think he would do it? I feel like he'd do it. The Milkshake themed book by Chuck Tingle, Pounded in the Butt by Milkshake. He did all the Pounded in the Butt books. I might actually write him. I think he should do that one. It'd be great. The protesters began marching and I followed them. If all they were going to do was throw drinks at me, I could handle that. At least That's what I thought. The protesters cycled through banal chants against police, fascism, racism, banal shit like that.
Just banal shit. Like racism and fascism.
Shit.
Things that Andy
Come
doesn't
on, guys,
worry
why
about
not?
or concern himself with.
Just human rights. Nothing to think about.
But
Minor fucking details.
But
Whatever,
what about getting a drink spilled on you? Let's keep our eyes focused on the real oppression here.
Come on now. That's absolutely correct.
About Debbie.
What about Debbie?
Yes. Wed Teeler is doing a good job of translating. Racism does not affect me. I mean, Ted, so it must be banal. Bingo. I think you and Andy would get on well, and you probably do. Love it. Right. Oh, sorry. The banal chants, I got lost at racism. I just assumed that was the end. But we've also got banal chants against President Trump and the Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm.
The day's protest was organized by Rose City Antifa and the Pop Mob to counter a flag-waving event by right-wing pro-Trump fraternity, the Proud Boys, held on the other side of downtown. A description that aged well.
It was funny. They didn't actually really come to downtown because I was walking at the time and I don't like sweets, so I didn't drink any milkshakes. And I walked down and watched them come over the bridge and then go down and go back over the other bridge really fast.
Yeah.
And we had to wait, was that some of the Proud Boys? Where are they going? Because had gone down to the waterfront to go and hang out by the fountains. And there was a very weird moment of, oh, the Proud Boys, because there's a big Pop Mob event, are just not really coming to downtown that day.
Yeah, they started on the east side and they bravely marched across a bridge and then down 2 blocks and then back across a different bridge. Both bridges having been cleared for them by the PPB.
Yeah. I think I texted
Just,
you.
I keep hearing about how they're real men, and I'm pretty overcome by that, just incredible demonstration of
robbing bridge
raw,
just
masculinity.
Raw masculine energy crossing that bridge.
God damn. Just wow.
I've walked across the bridge with more masculine energy than that bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked across the bridge and police didn't clear it, so I mean, I feel like anyone who's done that is winning this contest. So, go us.
I saw a llama walk across that bridge with more masculine energy than the Proud Boys. It was a very cuddly llama.
Oh, yeah, I'm willing to go ahead and say that llama was better in every way than a Proud Boy. Just every possible way.
Most llamas are better than Proud Boys.
Yeah. Certainly every llama I've ever met. Better. Let's see here. The DSA Portland chapter showed up with red banners to march alongside their comrades. The Youth Liberation Front also came with a large banner.
Democratic Socialist Alliance.
They've never shown up and not have red banners.
They're socialists. It's their whole thing. They have red banners because they're socialists.
Don't you understand how terrifying that is?
Imagine having matching cheerleader uniforms.
Yeah. I think they have, on
Obviously.
occasion, had matching socialist cheerleader uniforms.
Obviously they have banners.
Anyway, so they have things that are the color red. We're upset about this.
Yes, and also the Youth Liberation Front came with a large banner. So that's that's 2 banners, one of which was red.
Early Youth Liberation Front days. They weren't yet they're nationally famous for, knocking down a statue.
Trump hadn't tweeted about them.
I think their banner, it might have been the same banner that looked kind of like graph paper and was on a bed sheet. They had their one banner for a long time. But maybe they had another one. I didn't actually see them that day.
I love them so much. Yeah, unfortunately, Andy does not describe the banner, nor does he cite, any kind of source or include a picture. So we'll never know. Which is too bad because he apparently has footage. He continued live streaming the Antifa march on my phone in one hand while holding a GoPro attached to a stick in the other.
Yep, he sure did.
Yeah, cool. Well, good job, Andy, for being honest. I'm proud of you. Proud of you, dude. Police kept so far back, I couldn't see them. Some of the masked Antifa militants grabbed traffic cones and ran off.
He just couldn't see over, because he's kind of little. So maybe
he's
there
kind
was
of short.
in between him and the police.
I mean, as someone that was walking around downtown, there was cops all over the place.
Yeah, there's a fuck ton of cops.
Yeah, not enough clearly to protect Andy from red banners. Tragically, also, and I'd like to content warning everyone for some pretty serious anti-fascist violence coming up here. Some of the masked Antifa militants grabbed traffic cones and ran off. This was a sign of trouble.
Oh, they took traffic cones?
What follows?
Literal violence.
What did they
Is that
do?
a period or is that a comma?
Did they redirect traffic with the cones?
God only knows what nefarious things these Antifas do with traffic cones.
They were saving them up for several months or years later when they might need them for students.
They knew.
I just need to know, was that a period or a comma?
No, it was a period. It was grabbed traffic cones and
That's
ran
it.
off, period. This was a sign of trouble.
Cool. Why?
Yeah. No, nobody will never know.
As someone who has ever written things, and
What trouble was it a sign of? You have your audience on edge, Andy.
Yes.
We are on the edge of our seats.
finish the fucking sentence.
Oh, do go on. He's not going to. He's going to move immediately on to continuing walking because we haven't established that he's walking yet. We've only covered the last like 17 paragraphs. I continued walking and narrating what I saw to my Twitter followers. A Rose City Antifa member and an unofficial media representative for the group walked near and stared at me. I tried to avoid eye contact. He has been arrested at numerous violent Antifa demonstrations in Portland since 2017.
You just described two people, Andy.
Also-
Which one are you talking about?
Also, if it's actually a Rose City Antifa member, how would you know that? Does he cite that? And secondly, if he's been arrested multiple times, Andy, you always post everyone's mugshots. Exactly. So supposedly you'd know who this person is, unless you're just doing a bunch of bullshit conjecture and pulling this out of your ass because you're a hack and a fraud.
Yeah, almost seems that way.
Fraud,
So yeah, it's oh yep, this is accurate. We're just gonna put this up there. Yeah, I can't do it. That was great, Space Jesus. Yeah, it seems like he's definitely got someone in mind, and I can only imagine that he doesn't want to name this person because it would be libel, or he's just making it up, and I would believe either one. Like,
I'm going to think he's making it up only because he always likes to fuck with people. Like, he
that's
fucks with
true.
people so incredibly much that just like he saw a person in black staring at him, and the rest of this is all conjecture.
Yeah.
Like that time when he
feels
saw
correct.
a Muslim woman in London and he wrote a whole article about it because it freaked him out so bad. I think it's maybe like that.
And that seems, I mean, he is very excitable. I think we can all agree he's a very excitable boy. He had been arrested at numerous violent Antifa demonstrations in Portland since 2017. At the time, he had an upcoming trial for alleged criminal harassment of a Portland City employee he claimed was a fascist. And my favorite part of that sentence is I get to ask, which one?
Oh, is it Bike Nazi?
I bet
Is
it was
it Bike Nazi?
Bike
It's
Nazi?
definitely Bike
It's probably
Nazi.
Bike Nazi. It could also be,
that was real fun.
Wait, say it one more time.
Oh, I bet it was Bike Nazi. Bike Nazi.
I bet it was Bike Nazi.
A bunch right around then.
Just, what a
Just
champion.
Batman villain, the Bike Nazi.
Do you remember when the Bike Nazi got his hat knocked off?
I
and it
do
was lit on
remember
fire?
when the Bike Nazi got his hat knocked off.
That was really
It's very, he's a very silly, in any just world, he would just be a very silly man instead of a,
because in a
dangerous.
just world, you don't get to combine the aesthetics of the Joker and the Riddler and look worse doing it.
Yeah.
No, you do not. That
bit
is
of
violence. That is actual violence, and I think we should talk about it.
Also, just one other thing. He says he has in here that he'd been arrested at multiple things since 2017. The situation he's describing with the milkshake party was that 2018?
I believe it was 2019.
Okay. It's still like when you're publishing a book in 2020 and you're like, since 27. It's a little weird. Like, just
it implies
style
a
note,
much
Andy. You
more
might want to
extensive
specify
record.
what period of time you're
It's okay.
describing.
We already left it back to 2018 to May Day.
We did.
2018.
That was
So
2017.
2017. Yeah, we're
think.
skipping all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
There's no chronological continuation in this because his editor was dead at the time.
Why did you murder your editor, Andy? Why did you do it?
No, they read the book and then they were dead for
Why did
liability
you murder
reasons.
the editor with your bad prose, Andy?
Why would you do this, Andy? Actual violence. I'm afraid it doesn't get any better, obviously. So I just want to remind everyone, I'm going to just real quick, I'm going to read the beginning of the last 5 paragraphs, just the beginning part of the last 5 paragraphs, so everyone understands what he's doing. The protesters began marching and I followed them. Next paragraph, I continued live streaming the march. Next paragraph, I continued walking and narrating. Next paragraph, I pressed onward.
Then what did you do, Andy?
Wait, so there was 5 paragraphs in there? Do they have like other things, or are we all just slowly, endlessly marching on with Andy?
So far, Andy has narrated walking and seeing a guy who he then gets mad about.
Yeah. Just over 4 just excruciating paragraphs, and this one is no better. I pressed onward. The protesters made a turn and marched in front of the Multnomah County Justice Center. This was the same area where, in 2016, I witnessed a man being pursued by an Antifa mob. He was prosecuted and convicted for brandishing his handgun to stop the mob from chasing him.
Wait. That's so out of context from anything else. We're just throwing in a random shit from 2016 with absolutely no context. When was this? Where was this? Who was this guy? Oh, but he pulled a gun on people and they were chasing him because of it. So we're just pulling this out of our ass, wiping down the table with it, and then everyone's going to assume that somehow it makes sense and is relevant in any fucking way.
Also, last time Andy specified anything, he was in Lonsdale Square near the Multnomah County
he's
Courthouse.
been walking. And
then he walked.
But we
and
don't
now
know.
he's at the Justice Center. So what he's actually described as walking walking from a starting location to a following location that's like half a block away. Like
across a park.
Half a block away. Okay.
That's incredible.
Cool,
in 4
Andy.
paragraphs.
Where else did you go in all that time with all that walking?
Yeah.
Do you realize I could have gotten myself off 3 times and still gotten to the Justice Center and back in the time it took to write those 4 paragraphs or read them?
Yeah, no, it's really quite incredible. The epic march across the park and then over a block. But I'm afraid, first of all, there's a couple other things. One, you might expect a story about a man prosecuted and convicted for brandishing a handgun to come with a source.
Yeah,
you would expect that, right?
I would.
But there isn't one.
Oh, okay.
But I have good news for everyone. I found it, and we're going to watch the video of the guy brandishing.
Are we going to get to see someone do a crime where they threaten someone with deadly weapons?
We sure are.
Cool.
Can everyone see okay? Hopefully, yes.
Make it bigger.
Oh, God. Okay, let's see if this works. Is that working?
Yes.
Good. All right, so you see this guy. He's backing up. No one's here. Oh, and we got a gun.
And he points that gun directly at people's heads.
Oh, yeah. No, he's menacing. He's brandishing. And now, if he feared for his life, you would expect him to leave at this point, right? Like, you would expect him to flee now that he's, deterred people.
Because he's obviously doing this in self-defense and not...
Right. And that's why he just...
assault people with a handgun.
Sticks around. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's why... And that's why he sticks around here. And moves back towards the threatening crowd. And it goes on like this for a while. Somebody asks him to leave, and he draws, he threatens to draw the gun again. But I'm going to show it from a different angle that the Willamette Week also has, so that you can really see how chaste he wasn't. So you can see he's very far away. He kind of moves back towards them. All right, we got this. So he's 20 feet away when he does this.
Why would you do that, guy?
Yeah, it's a great question.
What's going on here?
It seems like you're threatening people with a handgun.
Seems like you're standing in front of a police station in the middle of an intersection and pointing a gun at people. And And so Andy's complaint here is that the dude got arrested.
Yes. Yeah, that would be apparently
cool.
Yeah, and that's why there's no citation. Because if there was, then people would understand that the dude got arrested for menacing people with a handgun for like no reason.
Cool, Andy. Good journalism. Super good. Well done.
Great. Fucking proud of you, Andy. All right, so we've got that. And so we move from Andy pressing onward and then having a flashback immediately into after I was kicked, punched repeatedly on the head, and robbed of my camera equipment, I stumbled away to sit on the ground outside a nearby courthouse. You're missing the whole thing, Andy.
That's like really burying the lead here, dude. Like you've been edging everybody along, and this is like, okay, now you like the tissue is already in the trash can. You're putting your pants on. You're halfway out the door. Like, what's up?
Okay. Also,
come on, Andy.
Just from a straight up like, let's talk over here. Let's talk about this gun in this location, and then, okay, as someone who was downtown then. I was at a dance party. I walked towards the waterfront, walked back by the dance party, went up to Pioneer Courthouse Square where Haley and her friends were, walked back down, and was eventually like, I have shit to do. I gotta head out. And then stuff was starting between Pioneer Courthouse where actually things got like tense. And the whole, like, all of that happened between Lonsdale and Pioneer Courthouse.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is he talking about the Justice Center anyway? Because none of this was even like, like,
if there was, I mean, there was
actual things.
I don't know.
This isn't right.
Yeah, his chronology is weird. Because there was a little march. They did a little march. They went from thing over to like from Lonsdale over to Pioneer Courthouse and like did a little loop.
And the punching of Andy didn't really.
I think it happened between Lonsdale and Pioneer Courthouse somewhere, which is the opposite direction from the Justice Center.
Yeah, that doesn't make any. I don't.
It's fine. He was
at
the time.
Yeah, it's true. This is what
and he couldn't see.
That's what it is. The sticky white liquid in his eyes just made it very hard for him to. Yeah. Matt Heyer asks, "Are we in 2016, the park, or on the? We don't. No one knows. No one knows where we are. We could be anywhere.
We've always lived here. We have always been sitting here on the curb with milkshakes in our eyes.
We have transcended time and space to this single moment that
milkshake
doesn't actually have a location in time and space.
Nope. It's the transcendent moment when Andy No got punched in the head, and then someone stuck his camera. Which I gotta say, like, okay." Andy No was the dude who showed up and clearly wanted to get punched. Like
he made a video about it that morning.
He made a video about how Antifa's going to do violence to me. Like he wanted to get punched. He showed up wanting to get punched. His whole shtick depended on getting punched.
He did everything besides having a sign on his back that said, "Please, for the love of God, fucking punch me."
Yeah.
And I just got to say, like, tactically, I understand people have their own reasons for doing things, but you could also just not punch that guy. Like, people held off. People did such a good job of restraining themselves from punching that guy while he did a bunch of stuff that would get you punched at a bar for hours. Yeah. And eventually, in the crowd of hundreds, somebody punched that guy. And when they did, he got punched. And then suddenly he didn't have a camera. And then he went and sat on a curb and like made $250,000 about it, which is like,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there.
He got what he wanted, which is disappointing.
Yeah. But, no, that should not have. It was a bad move for a few reasons, but not because Andy was sad about it. That wasn't one of the sad things.
No, if Andy could be sad about more things, that would be nice. But like really sad, not performatively sad.
No, like actually just like, oh God, my life is empty. I should reconsider it sad. Like I should think about
drinking tea
from a
tiny empty cup alone in his London apartment.
he, if he wasn't such a horrible piece of shit, he would kind of be a national treasure. It's really too bad he has to be such a piece of shit.
He's not funny enough.
He's not funny. I mean, he's not.
Nah, it's true.
Funny enough.
Like he can't even keep up his own bits.
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah, no, it's true. We might not get to it today, but there is a part where he talks about his horrible brain damage and his stutter, and like,
let's get to it. I want to hear about it.
Is that why he?
I want to hear about his fruit cup.
British
Tell me about the fruit cup, Andy.
Oh, God.
I'd get in the head if it meant that I could have a British accent, but I'd like mine to be consistent.
Right, like choose a part of like a specific accent and then keep it the whole time. Like, I don't know. Yeah, get a vocal coach. You've got the money. Like,
yeah. At least like a Tom Hardy kind of British accent. Like it shifts between real British accents.
Yeah. Like they're all more or less okay. They just shift and sometimes they leave. Like, yeah. Right. Okay. So after I was kicked, punched repeatedly on the head, and robbed of my camera equipment, I stumbled away to sit in the ground outside a nearby courthouse. Where the hell were you? I asked the police medic team who arrived. I raised my voice. Terrible construction on that. They informed me.
He's now outside of a courthouse.
That's Pioneer Courthouse.
Is it Multnomah County Courthouse? Is it the federal courthouse? Is it Pioneer Courthouse? Because you're walking in like a 3-block area.
And if it was Pioneer Courthouse, there was cops all over the place.
Everything was covered in cops. If you were near the courthouses, any of them, there were cops everywhere. Anyway, go on, Andy. What else happened?
They informed me that I needed to walk back to the Justice Center where an ambulance would pick me up in front of the Central Precinct. Traffic was shut down by the rioters, and the police medic team needed to rush to another part of downtown to aid officers.
He's describing walking 2 blocks.
Yes.
Like, he's describing walking maybe 2 blocks.
In his defense, he was literally dying at the time.
I thought they were serious because they weren't.
Maybe because he kind of had like what appeared to be sort of a black eye, and that was kind of it.
So the police, who were obviously on the side of the anti-fascists, forced Andy to walk 2 blocks with a black eye. And then Bernstein, the BuzzFeed reporter, agreed to escort me to the police station. He had flown all the way from New York to work on a story about journalists who write about hate crime hoaxes, which is interesting.
I thought they were doing a profile on Andy now, but
so did BuzzFeed. They also thought that. Let's see here, where is it? I was in talks to shadow him at the upcoming demonstration, which I thought might be a good way to illustrate how no constructs an incendiary political narrative out of a narrow selection of facts. Which isn't the same thing as what he said.
Like, we disguise our hate crimes with hoaxes.
Right. Like you wanted to make an incendiary set piece that you could wrap your career around, like a sad wet kitten floating in a swimming pool.
They were writing about hate crime hoaxes is actually a really brilliant way for him to describe what he was doing.
Yeah.
It actually, it is. There's layers there. It's like Shrek. He's got layers, No,
I feel like he's almost showing his hand there in like a brief moment of like weird honesty that just absolutely is devoid of any self-reflection.
Yeah. Like accidentally, weird. I mean, you got to admire him for accidentally telling the truth once in a while. I guess it's hard not to once in a while, like unless you really watch yourself. I knew of his left-wing bias, but remained hopeful he would see that I wasn't the far-right caricature my detractors accused me of being. I did not see that.
Oh, come on. You are such a caricature. You are a caricature of yourself. You are more of a caricature of yourself, like Andy, than we are. And today we're dressed as vaporwave heroes. For fuck's sake.
Yeah.
The morning of, we spoke at length over breakfast at a downtown cafe. I knew his catalogs. Again, moving through time with reckless abandon. Okay. Just no pacing at all.
Right. So first Andy had breakfast.
Yes. We finally reached breakfast.
Chapter.
God. I knew his catalog of reports included hit pieces on right-wing people, but I admired Bernstein's professionalism and friendliness. He wore a bulletproof vest and brought along a Kevlar helmet. I thought it was excessive. I told him Antifa generally harass and shove journalists, not try to kill them. I would regret my naivete a few hours later.
Did you realize that he was probably wearing that type of stuff for the same reason that we often do, which is not about the people like Antifa or anything, but it's because of fucking police munitions.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
and Proud Boys.
And the Proud Boys who like
Proud Boys and
pull guns on people all the time. Like that guy.
Remember that guy from earlier? Yeah, weird.
Kevlar vest because Andy helpfully showed him that video of the guy pulling the gun.
Also,
right, like, oh God.
I've never heard a ballistic helmet described as a Kevlar helmet before. Is that a thing?
I mean, that's like a military, like that's how we would describe it in the military. But
okay.
I don't believe
sure
it.
He was just making that up because I was like, oh yeah, it's a ballistic helmet, and I just hadn't heard Kevlar helmet as terminology.
Yeah, it's a weird way to say it. I don't really understand. I mean, maybe that's how the English say it. Maybe that's a British thing. You know, maybe they say it that way too. And Andy being British,
Being so brain injuredly British.
Yes, just dreadful, really. Yes. This oh boy, the 7 minutes it took to walk to the police station felt interminable.
It took you 7 whole minutes?
It
doesn't take a lot. Like, I get it was crowded, but like again, you're talking about walking like okay, maybe it's more like 4 blocks, but like
it's very precise. It's a very precise, like it took me 7 minutes exactly to stagger, brain literally slopping onto the pavement as I went, stuffing it back into my brain as I went.
Out his ears like Rudy Giuliani at a press conference.
Yeah. It's been a great year for memes. Say what you want. My face was burning from the substances seeping into my facial abrasions. I got nothing.
My face was burning from the substances seeping into my facial abrasions.
It sounds like something an alien would say. Like
it sounds like Andy's trying to convince us he has a face.
Yeah, I too have skin. Yes, and it drips sometimes, and then things get in.
But also, like, having had a lot of that milkshakey substance, which was milkshakey. It was not in fact milk based. It was coconut based. Having a lot of it, like, it's sticky, and I guess maybe if you have some, you know, if you get punched in the face, which he totally got punched in the face, and got a nice big shiner, and I suppose like if you had a cut and you got some milkshake, like I guess that would kind of maybe it was sting. I don't know. It's like.
Maybe. I would just like to highlight that once again, this is the same man who earlier asserted for several paragraphs that tear gas is fine and does not hurt.
Cool.
Yeah, but milkshakes though are beyond.
Getting coconut milk and sugar in your little boo boo. It's a rough time.
It's beyond thought, really. Beyond nobody really knows what it's like to be Andy now. It's very sad. Bernstein recalled this moment in his BuzzFeed feature that was published 3 weeks later. The focus of the story was no longer on journalists who wrote about hate crime hoaxes, but rather the events of the day. It's still about journalists.
Where his face stings? What moment is Andy talking about? The sentence construction is very weird.
Wait, could you go through the emotions a little bit slower? Because I'm very confused.
Yeah, no, me too. I'll try again. Bernstein recalled this moment, the one where the substances are seeping into his facial abrasions, in his BuzzFeed feature that was published 3 weeks later. Terrible. Why is there passive voice there? And then he says, the focus of the story was no longer on journalists who write about hate crime hoaxes, but rather the events of the day, which are about journalists writing about hate crime hoaxes. So
or at least about hoaxes of crimes. where you at least hoax a crime. It might not be a hate crime, but because I don't think Andy believes those exist.
He'll assert. We're not going to get there today, but there's a part where he asserts that as a man of color, this was a hate crime. So
he was being targeted for not all of the reasons. Okay, cool.
I assume. I assume. So we've got a quote here from the story in question, which is going to be better prose than we've had so far. So everyone take this moment to recoup and remember that the English language can be beautiful, or at least okay. At the police station, 2 paramedics put No on a stretcher. As they loaded him into the back of the ambulance, I noticed he was using Twitter. No asked the paramedics let me ride along. I realize now, with the GoPro gone and the federal stringer nowhere to be found, that I was the crucial media witness to his victimization. I climbed up front and we rode up the hills of Southwest Portland to the Oregon Health and Sciences University Hospital.
Okay, so first off, you just said, I realized he was using me for a grift. Why?
And he was on Twitter at the time.
What's up? Why? This is weird choices. Everybody's making weird choices right now.
Yes. And what it turns out is that Andy felt like of all the things that were, all the accusations that have been leveled against him in that article, which is, it's pretty centrist in tone, but it definitely comes to the conclusion that No is a grifter. But this is what he needed to push back on. And here he is pushing back on it. Indeed, I was on Twitter to see if any witnesses had captured video or photographs of my assailants. I wanted justice. That's why it's in there. That's the whole reason.
Justice.
Actually, I know people who've had serious brain injuries, and they're normally not immediately scrolling Twitter trying to identify faces.
Yeah, if you have a brain injury, usually you have trouble remembering what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only from doing roofer training and stuff, but usually for how to identify concussions and serious traumatic brain injuries.
Actually, let's run through it real quick. So there's the alert and oriented scale, where you establish if you're worried that someone might have a brain injury, you want to establish whether they are alert and oriented. And one of the things you want to establish is, are they alert and do they know who they are? Do they know when it is and where they are? And then do they know what's happening around them? And so if you are one of the ways that the rose hips who do street medic trainings would say okay, so there's alert and oriented, where you say this person was alert and communicative and then something about their state of mind. And if all of those things are normal, then the person is fine and doesn't have a brain injury. They
That's
might
really
have
good news.
but they don't have a brain injury. So if Andy is alert on Twitter and wants justice, okay, he might have a concussion if it was a really solid punch, but he's fine.
Yeah.
He probably should
that's good
for 4 hours right at that moment, but he kind of seems like he's fine.
I'm going to put forward, though, that at the end of the day, we didn't donate $250,000.
That's true. We did not give Andy No $250,000, but you know who did?
Michelle Malkin. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about her real quick. We've got a question about the centrist article. It is, if you look in the YouTube description, it is the first link under references. It is, you'll see, it's definitely a both sides, but Andy is terrible though. It's actually a very good article for that reason. It's good. So check that out if you want to. Andy's description had me a little worried, so I'm glad to hear he was fine. It's a relief that he was alert and aware and therefore possibly concussed but not brain injured.
And, it sounds like he remembered what had happened to him, so he remembered the event. He does not describe anything that sounds like a loss of consciousness, which would be a major red flag. He doesn't describe any disorientation particularly, except for the part where he has a really hard time establishing that he was walking places, but that was prior to the injury,
And also they're letting him write a whole book in which he skips around wildly in time, so that doesn't seem to be a new or old thing.
This just seems to be him. So the pity party continues for a little longer. And by a little longer, I mean for pages and pages that we're not going to get to all today, unfortunately.
Violin. I'm just going to play it for a while here.
Yep, there it is. There it is. All right, we're gonna read while the violin plays. At the hospital, I was moved on a stretcher into a room in the emergency department. Bernstein came with me. I naively viewed him as a guardian who wasn't a guardian of sorts, my bad. I naively viewed him as a guardian of sorts. He was the only person near me during the beating who wasn't laughing or cheering, but he was there only to gather information for his reporting. Before he left, he asked me if all this was worth it. No, I responded. He, along with my detractors, took the cynical view that I secretly wanted the beating for fame.
So he's saying it's not worth it, but that's only because he hasn't made $250,000 off of it yet.
Yeah, like, hold on, wait for it, Andy. It gets better. That's not what Dan Savage meant with that campaign, but it turns out. Oh man, a very good point. The word naive appears like 15 times in 2 pages, and you are completely correct. Bad job, Andy. All right, and we're finally, okay, so we're at about an hour. Are we okay if we go to a 2-page explanation of the cement? Because I would like to get to that while you were here.
Let's get into it.
Excellent. All right. Quick drying cement, ? Is the header. The emergency room was busy that afternoon. I later found out that other people injured in the ongoing riot, dance party, were treated there. One patient in the room nearest to where I was waiting began shouting. The woman with him yelled for help. A team of nurses and doctors rushed in. I don't know what happened, but I could see blood and other bodily fluids on the ground.
Okay.
He's in the emergency. If you got transported in an ambulance, he's in the emergency room at a hospital in Portland.
No, he's at OHSU.
Yeah, he's at OHSU. He has no idea where these people are coming in from.
That's the emergency room.
In emergency rooms, people bleed. That's what happens in emergency rooms.
That's why they're there. That's why they came in the first place, because they were having some trouble.
Anyway, anyone who's in an emergency room was put there by Antifa. Continue, Andy.
By now, several hours had passed without a doctor examining me. I mistook this to mean that I must have been okay. You pretty much were, dude.
That means that they were like, oh, you're fine. You don't require urgent care.
Because they triage people.
Yeah. And they chose the person with the blood.
Injury, they would have been triaging you like actually higher on the...
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. Also a very good point here. If the ambulance had time to bring him in, likely a slow day. Very good point. All I could think about was wanting to shower. The liquids on my face and hair had long ago dried and hardened.
Yeah, it got real sticky.
Yeah.
They totally got sticky.
You know? I believe that. Yeah.
There's carrageenan or whatever, there's like vegan thickeners in them. They get
that makes
sticky.
sense. Yeah, no, to get the consistency. Yeah, so, okay, so it was a bit sticky, very sad for him. My vision was slightly blurry. I began to think about how much all this medical care was going to cost.
Does he not wear glasses?
I don't know, actually. I feel like he does wear glasses.
Anyway.
Yes, I've seen him wear glasses, I think. I think that's true.
Might extend blurry vision is all. That's all I'm saying.
No. I mean, they probably, milkshaked his glasses or I don't know, goggles. Who knows? I began to think about how much all this medical care was going to cost. Unknown to me at the time, conservative activist Michelle Malkin started a GoFundMe campaign on my behalf.
Yeah, she sure did.
I would like to spend a minute talking about Michelle Malkin. Whom I would not describe as a conservative activist if it was up to me, and you can check the reference section for this. I would describe her as somebody who openly sides with the Groypers, who are white supremacists, and got kicked out of Young Americans for Freedom, which is a very conservative group, for being a fucking white supremacist. That's a thing that happened recently.
I mean, and also way back when she was a slightly more mainstream, she kind of made her mark by being an Asian American woman saying FDR was absolutely right to put Japanese people in concentration camps during World War II. That was kind of her,
Yeah.
That was her making her stamp on history.
Yeah, she was always horrible. It's been a weird ride. She was somebody who appeared in the Gazette Telegraph in Colorado Springs when I was a child, and I thought that her writing was amazing and that she was beautiful, and I wanted to be just like her when I grew up. And I'm real glad that wishes don't come true sometimes, because she's the worst. Just a terrible person. It gets worse every year, and not good. Not something to brag about, having her raise money for you.
No, and also,
and taking it. Just because a shitty person raises money for you, you don't have to take it.
You have to take it. You can be like, you know what, I'm going to donate this to people with brain injuries. I'm going to donate it to them.
It's funny that he says he's worried about how much it's going to cost, and we know that he got like $250,000 raised for him.
Right.
And I'm no expert, and not to say that the U.S. medical system isn't overly expensive, but I don't think a trip to the ER costs $250,000. So I wonder what he did with all the other money. Did he just keep the money?
Actually, as someone
like a
who's
grifter
been to OHSU and had emergency care, it cost about $4,000. And although I didn't have an ambulance ride,
so
ambulance
that's probably
rides are like
another,
$15,000.
Yes,
That's gonna be more. Yep.
$15,000. Okay,
cool.
So let's say
$250,000.
shoot the moon. He spent $50,000 somehow.
That's outrageously high.
He spent $50,000 on his care.
Yep. Yeah.
Got all the hospital aspects.
If I'm not mistaken, that within a couple of days he was then on an airplane flying cross country.
Which, with pressure changes, no doctor would sign off on if you actually had a traumatic brain injury.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did he do with the other $200,000?
Yeah. You know what he didn't do is go on a trip around the world, or go somewhere nice, or go to a resort.
That could teach you how to speak in a British accent.
Get yourself something nice, Andy. Just go take a little trip. Just go get on a beach, drink like a
Mai Tai.
I was gonna say one of those little coconut drinks, but that might bring back.
Oh, like a little umbrella. Yeah. Yes. That is what you need, Andy. That is, you put the lime in the coconut. That's the doctor you require.
Shake it all.
Tragically, we live in hell. Oh shit, here we go. Face creams to soothe the abrasions. But the coconut caused the abrasion, so maybe it's like aromatherapy. I don't know. Andy's got a lot of problems is the trouble.
And coconuts do it.
It's homeopathy.
Andy probably, oh my God. VC4L has the answer. Andy bought NFTs. He owns all the mean tweets that everyone's ever written about him. Thank you very much, Fade. I appreciate you. All right. We still haven't gotten to the quick drying cement because Andy doesn't know how to organize writing. Instead, we get, I was eventually wheeled into another room where I was given a CAT scan of my head. By now, some of the local reporting on the day's riot was published. The Portland police also released numerous updates throughout the day. Their press release read, and he's going to now quote from the police press release, a very valid source. During today's events, there were multiple assaults reported, as well as projectiles thrown at demonstrators and officers. There were also reports of pepper spray and bear spray being used by people in the crowd. Officers deployed pepper spray during the incident. There were reports of individuals throwing milkshakes with a substance mixed in that was similar to a quick drying cement. And there is a citation, obviously.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm just going to put forward here, first off, that you drank like a gallon of it, and you would literally have
over the course of a while. But yeah, I would
like just
a lot of it. Also, so here's
could have built another fucking house.
But also just to again, Zapruder film the story about quick drying cement for a second here. So the order in which things happened is Haley Adams made the allegation that there was sketchy chemicals in the milkshakes.
Someone in Haley Adams' crew, probably the bitchy woman that was.
Oh, it might have actually been LaDawn.
LaDawn.
Who was
throwing white powder. There's video of her throwing white powder at people in the crowd. while accusing them of being Antifa terrorists and whatever. And so people from Haley's contingent started asserting vocally, and I think even via Twitter.
Or texted, no, one of them like texted the cops or something.
But they did start,
thing.
they vocally said, like verbally said, oh my God, there's some sketchy chemicals and things, while LaDon was throwing white powder at people. Which is still like a thing. It's just a weird thing where like it was probably like cornstarch or something because LaDon.
Who fucking knows? That cheese unhinged. I'm sorry.
Actually, it was probably just like quick drying cement powder, which is really.
But
maybe it'll land in the milkshakes and then I can get my story. Yeah.
Right. But point being,
the cops
it originated.
No comment.
Right. It originated with Haley Adams' crew, noted like griper adjacent. Proud Boy, fangirl, weirdo,
nasty, gross.
Haley Adams. Yeah. Then the cops tweeted about it with no like they were just like, we've received reports, and just tweeted about it, and everybody immediately, including lots of local news sources,
and
were like,
far away news sources,
picked it up. And a couple of local news sources, to their credit, were like, this seems really irresponsible. It seems like you didn't tell us where this information came from at all.
The cops didn't investigate it. They just said, we've received reports. And those reports were from the same people throwing white powder at activists.
And secondly, the second problem with the quick drying milkshake thing, or quick drying, whatever, quick drying cement. So first off, it's hard. There's the problem of like, what the hell a quick drying cement milkshake would be meant to accomplish. Like, is the idea that these are people who have spent so little time using cement that they don't understand that cement doesn't like immediately turn into a thing.
It's also it's just straight up like saying hippies are putting acid in the fucking water supply.
Oh, they did also say there was also an allegation circulating among the far right that there was acid in the milkshakes. They didn't specify whether it was caustic acid or like pretty colors acid.
That's important. That's very different.
And quick drying cement is a base. So it's either an acid or a base. And if you want cement to not set, so if you're like, oh, quick drying cement is caustic, first off, I don't know, like, I've worked with cement. I've laid cement. Probably plenty of people have. And yet it's not great to like let it sit on your skin for a long time, but like it doesn't cause any major problems. Like it's not good, but it's like very strong soap, right? Like whatever, it's fine if it gets on you for a second. It's not ideal.
I mean, the fact is not so much that it's a basic and that it like causes burns. The issue is that it's cement. And then, if it's like around your feet, you get thrown in like a nearby ocean.
Right. But secondly, if you want cement, so if the allegation is that they were putting cement into milkshakes, which then instantly turned into cup-shaped bricks, which could then be thrown at people. First off, that's not how cement works. Second off, there would have been cup-shaped bricks around somewhere.
And thirdly,
if you want cement to not set, you put sugar in it. That's what you do if you spill cement and you're like, oh, fuck, we don't want the cement to set here. You put sugar in cement and it stops it from setting. That's how cement works, Andy.
Which then, since it was obviously not immediately setting because he had it spilled on him a bunch, and it was not in brick-shaped cups being poured on his head, it was pouring on him.
Right.
It was a liquid at the time. And he conceivably saw people drinking it because plenty of people, not just you, I'm sure other people got to have some.
People drank milkshakes.
There were
hundreds of
vegan milkshakes. That Antifa will go to hurt Andy No.
Oh dear God, I'm poisoned and have cement in my stomach.
Yeah. It's what I love about the cement milkshake thing is how utterly incoherent it is
and disprovable.
Because if there was concrete in the milkshakes, there would be concrete in milkshake cups left over afterwards.
Yeah.
And there
or concrete poured on the street.
Or blobs of concrete. There would have been some concrete evidence.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that what happened here is that out of pure spite, the Antifas drank the concrete and almost died, all of them, in order to eliminate the evidence just to fuck over Andy Ngo. And I think that anyone who disagrees is
very
probably
much like it is almost, it's funny because QAnon was already a thing, but it's very much like in that vein of like almost satanic panic. Like nothing about this makes sense. This is such bullshit that is only going to rile people up. And if any of it was true, there would be the most minute shred of evidence, but there isn't for any of this.
Yeah.
Let's fucking run. Like,
just go with it.
Just go. And by the way, Andy's going to do his best in the next page or so to make a case for concrete.
Do it.
Let's do this. All right. Most people became fixated on the claim from police that some of the shakes used to assault people may have had some form of quick-drying cement mixed in. This led to an intense back and forth between the police and journalists sympathetic to Antifa, who sought to disprove the claim. A police report written that day by Lieutenant Richard Stainbrook stated that during the riot, a woman who was covered in a thick liquid told him the shake was filled with quickcrete, a concrete mix. Cement has a high pH level and can cause burns on the skin, which we've discussed.
Theoretically,
if you just left it there. Yeah. Quote, I looked at the female and she was covered above her head and shoulders with a gray colored substance that was starting to dry. I have worked with concrete periodically and specifically quickcrete, which is premixed concrete, specifically many times. A sentence that makes sense. Stainbrook wrote, the substance on the female...
That cop has not worked with concrete on a regular basis or even periodically because quickcrete is a brand of concrete. It's just a brand name. It's not pre-mixed anything.
Or and like super fast.
And if you
oh my God.
Concrete, that's why you got to keep it moving in the cement mixer because otherwise it starts to harden. You can't pre-mix concrete.
Okay, I think the thing is like, you know, like quick oats? You know how quick oats are like more finely ground and turn into oatmeal a lot faster than say steel cut oats?
Okay. Yeah.
The brand, it's not just fucking faster concrete.
Right. It's like you don't have to mix in your different parts of like gravel and Portland cement or whatever. Like it's pre-mixed in the sense of you just add water and then let it set for 24 hours or more before it's actually concrete. But like it's not anyway. So we learned that cops don't understand how cement works.
Cool. Yes. Also, we've got the creepiest sentence that I've read in this book so far coming up. Is everyone ready for the creepiest sentence in Andy Ngo's book so far? This is by a police officer, obviously. Quote, the substance on the female smelled like quickcrete, unquote.
That's some Ferengi shit right there. The substance on the female
smells like quickcrete.
Also, I'm sorry, like I don't know what he's smelling. Like I have no cops lie all the time, but they're not supposed to lie in their police reports. Quickcrete doesn't smell like coconut. It doesn't smell like coconut and sugar. That's not what it smells like.
I would have loved, like, if this was true, where are the lawsuits from the people whose children were drinking those milkshakes? Because if you really were like, man, I want to fuck up Antifa fed my children concrete.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a thing.
Also, like concrete, what it smells like is like, it smells like eventually heat and like moisture and just kind of dust.
Clay.
Yeah, it smells like it smells like clay and there's a little bit of a moisture funk to it. And you can smell like this sort of warm smell as it's drying. It doesn't have a distinct smell, really. I don't know. Hey, whatever. Okay, cops.
Fucking cops. So
it is. Go on.
Yeah. The female smelled like quickcrete.
The female.
I also noticed as the substance was drying, it was turning into a chalky consistency, which from my experience is consistent with drying concrete. The only substance that has ever turned into a chalky consistency.
I would put it to you that when concrete dries, sir, it in fact turns into concrete and not into chalk. as a dilettante in home improvement.
I'm not an engineer, but that makes sense to me. God.
Cool.
You're probably just saying that because you're Antifa press, which Noah's going to explore in this next paragraph.
Great.
Left-wing journalists like Katie Shepherd, formerly of the Willamette Week.
Oh, she's great.
I love her. She's my journalistic crush. I know she's not watching, but if she was, anyway, Katie's amazing. Authored a lighthearted story where a team at the paper photographed themselves throwing restaurant-purchased milkshakes mixed with Crickcrete on a mannequin. And you can read that article below when you should. It's very funny. The mayor's senior advisor on public safety stood by police and said it was reported to him that a person hit with a shake reported having skin and eye irritation. So that's third hand.
Maybe they were allergic to coconut.
That makes sense. Sometimes people are allergic to coconut. Or it was concrete, the only other thing anyone's ever been irritated by.
Mm-hmm. The only thing anyone has ever had a bad reaction to ever in life.
Yeah, no, the only thing. It's the only thing that's ever damaged anyone. It's just true. Mm-hmm. However, the Portland police ultimately said they did not retrieve a sample to test.
Which you actually believed when you tweeted out, if you actually believed, holy shit, they're hitting people with a substance that could burn them.
Yeah.
That would be like the most minute thing you were going to do if you were, say, a police department that closed more than 4% of cases.
Again, there are hundreds upon hundreds of cups that are marked with the iron front, so you know that they're milkshake cups throughout the city at this time. And if this was a thing, cops could have just been like, oh, well, we should pick up a couple of these cups.
Even one.
Oh, this one. Yeah. There was one. It was very funny because there was like a lot of right-wing social media stuff of people like trying to take pictures of things where they were like, maybe this. And it was just pictures of like milkshake, like milkshake cups that had spilled. And there was like goo on the sidewalk because they'd spilled. And they were like, it could be concrete. Like, it was a very funny panic to watch unfold on the internet in real time.
So absurd. If anyone wants like a kind of exhaustive take on all of the various bullshit that the right said about the milkshakes, look up Thought Slime's milkshake video. He's got two. They're both good. But one of them really goes
also, Pop Mob released they released an itemized list of like, here's what went into the milkshakes and how we made them. Which was in response to a thing the PPB put out to try to cover their own asses, which was a ridiculous email that said that like had a list of things that were supposedly in the milkshakes that said like,
the spawn of the unborn,
right, quick drying cement and other toxic substances to cause burns, which was like an email that the PPB sent out as like some random ass person sent us this email. Yeah, it was a lot of very QAnon weird ass shit happening in that email. And so then Pop Mob was like, here we go. This is what was in all of the milkshakes. Here's our recipe. And
beautiful. Yeah, I will try to find that and put that in the description as well. I would like to know the recipe. It sounds delicious. I would like to drink it.
It was good.
Yeah. So, and he concludes this section, this very rigorous section, with, other than the field observation by the lieutenant and a threatening anonymous email to police that included a recipe for cement shakes.
That's the one. That's the one. The obviously fraudulent email where someone made false statements to police.
Glorious. Oh my God. There was no conclusive evidence for the claim. And there's a citation there. That's true. There was no conclusive evidence for the claim.
Good citing how there's no conclusive evidence for the thing you will now treat as though it's a possibility.
Yes. So yeah, he concludes with just some waffling, fucking trying not to get sued for libel bullshit. The focus on this particular aspect after the riot was a red herring. I don't know what substances I was hit with that day. My face felt like it was burning. Yeah, I tried. Like we actually do.
It appears to have been
many milkshakes,
many milkshakes and a fist. Yeah, many coconut dream milkshakes. And a fist.
Can we have that be a band, like the Fist and the Milkshakes or something?
Yes.
Like, yeah. Fucking get on it, guys.
One fist and
One fist and the many milkshakes.
Yeah.
I'm claiming that one now.
Yeah. Oh, wait. My face felt like it was burning, but I was also covered in cuts and abrasions. In past Antifa riots in Portland, some Black Bloc militants have filled balloons with urine, feces, and chemicals before launching them at targets using slingshots. We do have a citation for this. Did not notice that. It's a Katie Shepard article. The title is header, my God, headline, whatever. I can't think. Portland police chief says Antifa protesters use slingshots.
Oh, it is the PPP. It's the PPP lying.
Yeah, look at that. The PPP doing a lie.
Also, can you imagine trying to poop into a water balloon? Like the next
I literally cannot.
Like, unless your butthole stuck out, it would be real hard because you have to
if you had a prolapsed asshole and then you managed to get the balloon around the edge of that so it had something to hold on to, and you had a really good friend. But
that is dedication to pooping in a balloon because that takes a lot of time and effort.
Also, over years. The whole urine and feces thing has been it's just all the time forever. Cops love the idea that they love the idea that protesters throw urine and feces.
It makes complete sense to me.
Right, people pee on the sides of buildings
because you're downtown and people gotta pee, and so if they can find pee anywhere, then they're like,
which is everywhere.
See? They were throwing pee at us. There was, for a long time, cops had the thing of, they're going to fill super soakers with urine and spray urine on.
Who wants to pee into a super soaker? Who has it?
It sounds like a fetish thing to me. That sounds like a police have a fetish.
20 seconds later, the fucking super soaker's empty. And then what?
And anyone who's ever used a super soaker, when you run out of liquid in the reservoir on a super soaker, it goes and makes a mist that inevitably drifts back on you. You don't want to do a super soaker. It's weird. Gross. Anyway.
Do it.
All right.
Yeah. No. So Andy's book is still horrible. He was literally murdered by a milkshake, and white supremacist Michelle Malkin came down from the heavens and saved him with $250,000, and it was all very sad. And that concludes today's reading of Andy Knows Horrible book. There's a whole other half of this chapter where he really gets sad about how sick he is and how his brain bleeded everywhere, and it's amazing.
Oh, I'm so sad that we aren't going to get to the part where he drops the fruit cup.
I know. I'm sorry. We were close, but yeah. Maybe Thursday. I'm just saying. Open invitation. We'll talk. But yeah. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this lovely thing. Everyone have a great evening. Please be careful not to get hit in the face with any concrete, and I'll see you Thursday at 6. Goodbye.